Welcome back, everyone. I am the Depressed Dior, and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 8. So this match is early morning time slot on Sunday. I usually do these on Saturday, but I actually tried to go to sleep at a reasonable time because I had a party to attend on Saturday. And after the party, I was super exhausted and very, very sore. So even usually these early morning time slots, I'm usually pretty tired, but more so for this particular match. This should be my final match for the season. I could try to go for gold 2 if I were to win, I guess, 2 more matches, but I really just do not have the time right now, and I'm still rather sore and tired, so I'd rather not deal with it. I don't remember exactly what updates I've said from the previous video, so just FYI, Christiane is 5 stars, Moo is 5 stars, everyone else I believe is 6 stars. I did take, I believe I moved a Lustral's Twilight Star, or somebody's Twilight Star, I don't remember who, to Marielle. And Marielle, I'm going to try to use Amazon Champions more often now. Besides that, it's just mostly just trying to do a chance and try to improve everybody. My opponent here, Muhammad, who I thought I fought before. It's possible I may have fought this person in World Arena, but apparently this is the first time I fought him for Apex. One tank, which is pretty much a pretty good sign that this is supposed to be designed to be a rush box. Already my opponent banned Hilda. It's been a while since I've had Hilda be banned, simply because now that I have Christiane, there's usually not a point in banning the tank because I would just pick the other one. Before it was useful for the opponent because Freya just did not compare as far as tanking was concerned. Anyway, but yeah, you can see a lot of long legs, a lot of AoE. Yeah, it's rush. That's all you got to know. I went ahead and I was like, well, I still don't want to deal with Hilda, so I'm gonna ban Hilda first and leave you with no tanks. And I take Christiane. So this will be my first match ever in Apex with Christiane. Like I said, she's 5 stars, which means she starts with 3 stacks. So she doesn't actually start with her self-res until after I remove one of them. My opponent went ahead and started banning my range. At this point, since Christiane, I don't have Reincarnation faction buff anymore, I only have Princess now. A lot of my attack buff, I'm going to have to grab somebody with an attack buff, which isn't too bad. I have so many characters with attack buffs, or Gossable, so it's not really the end of the world. They open with a Lustral, which on this map she's pretty good. She can run across the mountains at the top and the various forest tiles. I went ahead and went straight for, really, I definitely went for, man, what is his name? As always, when I cut the video, that's when I remember. Clotaire. Clotaire, I did not want to deal with. He's shown too often that he's just a monster. He covers so much ground. His AoE hits really, really hard, does a lot of fixed damage, and reduces all my healing. And then Lucretia, with her weird long range and shenanigans, and she can potentially beat AoE. Really, it's just the AoE part I'm concerned about. Christiane would probably be able to survive Lucretia pretty easily, because Christiane is the magic tank in this game. I went ahead and took Tensei Jessica. This guarantees I at least have Strengthen, so if I do need to throw around an attack buff, I have an option. Also, it gives me flexibility as far as teleporting is concerned. They start going for my long legs, no surprise there, because it's really going to come down to who can kill each other faster, which I guess that's every match. They went with Florentia right off the bat. So right now, Florentia, the only sources for faction buffs for her is Rosen Seal and Leon. I went ahead and got rid of their long legs because I definitely did not want to deal with that nonsense. I take Marielle. Marielle does have mass attack if I need it. I'm just hoping that I could just use her for attacking. We'll see. My opponent went ahead and got rid of more of my, at this point, my long legs and assassins. Took Is that Sonia? Yeah, Sonia. That's her name. It's been so long. I don't believe Sonia has the ability to guard bypass. I don't remember. But she does have the ability to do heal reversal, which is pretty rough. She can also alternate between attack and magic with her 3C. At this point, I got rid of both Leon and Bozel, mainly to get rid of primary faction buffers. I really did not expect my opponent to really rely on Rose and Seal here. If my opponent did take Rose and Seal, that would be a benefit, because that would be one less attacker I have to deal with, and they don't have a tank, so I don't need to worry about any of that. But essentially, I was making sure that they couldn't get faction buffs on Sonia here. I go ahead and grab Moo. At this point, my choice was Moo and 4 healers. With all 4 healers, I have plenty to choose from. 3 of them can act again, 2 of them can mass attack, 1 of them can gossipal, and then the last one's Rose and Seal, who can do not really anything important, to be honest. I mean, besides her standard kit, but she doesn't have anything that buffs attack. So went after the primary act agains, leaving me with Sissy White and Rose and Seal, and they take D-Lit, probably as a pseudo healer. At this point, I got rid of Rose and Seal because I did not want to give a faction buff to Sonia. I wasn't too concerned about Toa. Toa has no faction buff, which means she can't guard bypass, and she can't first strike. So she's kind of just there. And she doesn't. And without Christiane, you can't really do any fancy combos with her. And I wasn't concerned that much about old Landius. He does self-res, he does hit pretty hard, and his AoE is annoying, but I don't actually have any mounted characters or flyers, so I don't need to worry about him at all. So at this point I take Sissy White. This is hers, I have a mass attack. I do have an act again as well if I want to use it, and my opponent takes Toa for the last character. Oh boy, this match was rough. Like I mentioned, I was really tired. Even during that ban pick phase, I was running down to the last second on my timer, and in this match, I run out the timer almost. Pretty much the latter half of the match was literally just seeing those big numbers count down on my screen as I tried to figure out what to do. So standard Moo, like I said, she is now 5 stars. She's not going to be 6 stars for over a month, like 50 days or so. But now I provide an even higher attack buff now. I provide better healing when on those particular tiles. And now it's an 80% chance to do a random debuff effect. Besides that, it's our standard kit. 3C with Revitalizing Blessing and Teleport. Sissy White standard kit. I didn't really need to worry about AoEs, so I was like, whatever, heal, business strategy, 3C, and then mass attack. Christiane. Like I said, this is our first time using her. I did bring phalanxes because we did have to deal with cavalry. And apparently my their D-Lit did not take infantry, they took unicorns, so that's another reason to go ahead and take phalanx. Like I said, I was most concerned about Sonia because even though Christiane is a tank, she is infantry, and so once they're through the troops, Sonia can definitely do some hurting on Christiane. As for her kit, like I said, she's 5 stars, which means she has 3 of these stacks. Once she gets down to 2, she'll be able to self-res. Floral Realm, Flower Formation, which provides an aura that makes it so you reduce range attacks. Also, if you have multiple female units, you'll also reduce magic damage. And then we have Lady of the Flowers, which is her 3C, which is a faction buff that lasts faction buff and guard built in, as well as a what Amelia's effect is, where it converts its magic defense into attack. So pretty good stuff there. Also, I believe she can counterattack at 2 range when she has that up. And then Marielle, I went with the standard kit, but this time I brought Amazon Champions. Honestly, Zealots just do not do enough. They're just too fragile, and once your HP drops to a certain level, they lose pretty much all of their benefits. So figured I would just stick with this. As for our opponents, Florentia did bring mass attack, so they do have an attack buff. Standard kit for Lustral. Actually, one thing to note about Florentia is did bring Sky Archers, does have her exclusive helmet. That's why she has 6 strategies. Toa here, standard kit, 3C with Supremacy Strike and Tactical Guidance, all that good stuff. Deedlitz did not bring Gossable, so just purely relying on offense here. So Seer Miracles, Accelerated Aid, which can help with mobility, and then of course our 3C. And then Sonya here brought into Jitsu, which honestly is probably not something you really needed here, because there's not enough terrain to play around with. Probably should have went with Crush or something else. 3C and Strike, so definitely a lot of ground coverage here. Also brought Steelmane Werewolves, which I completely forgot Sonya can even have access to. I probably should put those troops on her. Anyway, with that, let's go ahead and dive right in. So at this point, I'm just opening with my 3C faction buff. It only applies to herself and Sissy White. Obviously, the most important thing is to count spaces. So Toa got the accelerated aid, so now she moves 6, so she can get to here. If she can get some help with tactical guidance, she can go another 2 steps and then get to here with her ascension. But she cannot defeat Christiane, and she can't guard bypass because she has no faction buff. So really the big issue here is the Lustral. So one thing I guess I failed to note is she isn't using Olor's bow. I believe she's equipped with a Hydra bow in this case, so she only has 2 range with her normal attack. The other thing to note is since everyone except for Deedlit has high mobility, there's not really anyone that Florentia can actually apply Rush to. So really the only concern I have is her Act Again. The other thing to note is she does have her passive with 3C, so her 3C is definitely going to provide her with a battle stratagem. And then every time one of my units dies, the troops are going to get a buff, and she's going to get a strategy. But also with her exclusive helmet, every time my opponent loses a unit, she's also going to get a strategy. So even without the faction buff, she can actually do her mechanics quite a bit. In any case, here's the coverage right now. I was definitely overly cautious about Lustral for some reason. I don't know why. I really could have definitely moved in closer when I actually close in. For some reason, I just kept assuming she can do something at 3 range, but that is not the case. Wayhand got Lancers up and running, just in case. Biggest issue, like I said, is Lustral, because she can guard bypass if she's in pretty much in grasslands, forest, or mountains. So right off the bat, I was like, alright, well, let's just go ahead and get this going. So teleported Marielle in. At this point, the only people that can reach her is Toa. Toa can do either her 3C or do tactical guidance or a combination of to get to Marielle. But Marielle is at full health with commandment. So my idea, the plan here was to just try to get Toa to attack. At this point, Toa actually has no attack buff. So I was pretty confident I could probably tank it. Went ahead and did strengthen just to refresh the attack buff. So tactical guidance. So ended up giving her movement buff to Sonya, which is not a big deal. She can already reach me anyway. Then does this. This is actually kind of smart. She's taking advantage of the forest here. Also, her 2 act agains that she just did, or move agains, were on the path, so that didn't actually trigger the Moo's effect. And then I believe Moo's effect did proc here, but she had her she did have immunity, so it actually didn't do anything. So didn't kill Marielle. Came pretty close though. That was pretty crazy. So with that, I was like, all right, well, I don't have any. The only other attacker is Lustral or possibly Florentia. So I was like, well, let's just go ahead and move in. Revitalizing Blessing. This is in Forest, but I am at full health, so I do get the Sorceress bonus. And I take out Toa. And get ourselves a little tree friend. So go ahead and move in, get Force Guard up. So she's actually hitting 2 units here, so she's actually going to get 2 strategies. And almost kills Marielle. Thankfully the commandment saved her. But yeah, that was pretty rough. So at this point I'm sitting at, I think, and then the status effect was probably some sort of attack down, or it was probably attack down, but I was immune. So at this point, I actually move in. I'm recovering 30% of my health here. So like Marielle, Amazon champions both get a nice boost. I use it to move in. Dispel a bunch of buffs. It's Cav and demons. Almost killed. If I had a bit more health, I probably would have pulled it off. I did get some healing, which was nice. And now I break my commandment. And at this point, I make a error. Like I said, I was pretty tired, and I was trying to be fancy, and I really shouldn't. I should have killed Sonya here. If I killed Sonya here, it would have been a trade, but I would have been ahead in that trade. But I was also concerned about Florentia. I also wasn't sure if I was going to be able to take out Lustral. I think I should have went for... Yeah, so... Yeah, I almost pulled it off, but not quite. So the reason why... Actually, I would have gotten the kill. The reason I didn't get the kill is she did have the robes equipped, which do a random debuff, and I ended up getting attacked down. If I hadn't gotten attacked down, that probably would have killed. If I had gone for a Lustral, I probably would have gotten kill as well. Pretty much, if I had gone for either a Lustral or Sonya, I probably would have been okay. But I didn't, and that definitely cost me. Also, it would not have been safe to attack a Lustral, because a Lustral would have been able to attack in melee because of Elven Cavalry. So yeah, kind of a big mistake here. I did fall back. I am at full health. And Lucretia here does get kill. Also, I guess one of the changes I did a while back, which is partially why Marielle's enchants were not very good, is I do have the armor that reduces both physical and range damage at 30% chance, which did proc a few times, which was nice. So at this point, I am not in the best shape. Mood does have Tenyo Breeze active, but I don't have any sort of attacking skill available, but I went ahead and moved in to see if I can take her out. This was in Path, unfortunately. If I was not in Path, I might have been able to get kill. And this was ridiculous. I was hoping to get kill here, and yeah, the Force Guard attack's so slow that I couldn't actually do anything. So I ended up just healing a Lustral here. So this is partially why Deal is not used as much. She's all magic, and against the recent uptick of a lot of new casters, sorceresses and casters can generally tank magic damage relatively well. The other issue, of course, is all these debuffs that she happened to have. Definitely did not help. I mean, at this time, because of Florentia doing her 3C, she hasn't actually had a chance to do attack. She hasn't had a chance to even do mass attack. And she's still not doing mass attack. Instead, she just went and killed the tree friend instead. Something I just noticed. I'm just checking here. So it's a war coin for every summon unit that died, even if it's not hers. So the summon unit that Moo brought in actually got provided a coin for Sissy White here. So the thing that's holding me back right now is the Lustral. And since I got greedy and didn't kill Sonya, I'm also having to deal with an extra attacker. Honestly, if we had taken out Sonya, that would have made my life so much easier. Because then I wouldn't have to deal with the 3C that's coming eventually. So yeah, I'm staying far back here. The coverage here for Lustral is pretty ridiculous. And their Florentia has plenty of Actigans at this point. So yeah, here it is, Chaos Helix. So if I had killed Sonya, none of this would happen. But hey, you got to see Sonya's animation for once. So no kill, but I am stuck in my anti-heal state, or heal reversal, which lasts 2 rounds. And I don't think it can be dispelled, but good luck trying to get it removed. And since I recognized the act again nonsense, I had to kill Florentia. I was definitely torn here on who to kill. I could have killed just about anyone at this point. Yeah, I could have killed anything. But if I killed any of the other targets, Florentia would have done an act again. So if I kill Florentia now, it would be Delit going next, which we've already proven that she can't kill casters, especially at full health. And since I have the Holy Shield, there's just no way she's going to get kill. Also, especially with a regular attack. Okay. So at this point, I have to do something with Tensei Jessica, because Lustral's going to just attack and kill. So my choices were either take out Sonya, Delit, or Lustral. I went ahead and went with Sonya. Not sure if it was the best call. So end up taking a kill here. Self-res procs. So at this point I 3C to act again. One way or the other, there wasn't much I could do. I moved the lances up here, but there's Lustral had enough mobility to get around this. Jade Storm, of course, converted those buffs into debuffs, and yeah, just tons of damage, but it was a trade. How close was that trade? That I'm curious about. So the main disadvantage about archers is their attacks are actually reasonably slow. So it usually gives time for even casters to make that happen. So that's about 15,000 HP versus my 20,000. Of course, Celestial just does so much damage. But yeah, by the time the Jade Storm hit, I had already fired my Fireball, and yeah, 24,000, plenty. So at this point, it's Delit versus a healer. So the danger here, of course, is Christiane's self-res has been spent. She's down to Phalanx and herself, essentially. I did drop another Effulgence stack, so she's actually taking less damage by another 2%, which is definitely going to be helpful, because I need to make sure Delit survives. If Delit doesn't survive, it's going to be essentially Sissy White versus Delit. The summons are just not going to be able to do anything. Now, one thing I also took advantage of is the fact that Christiane is also in Forest right now, to kind of reduce everything. Alright. So she moves, gets her a bunch of her fancy little talent stacks. Okay, this was a mistake. So there's a bunch of mistakes here. So the moving part was fine, because she had an extra action, and moving got her max. Moving 3 spaces got her max stacks from Forest of No Return. The problem is she decided to attack in place instead of moving again. First of all, you should always move if you're using cavalry, because there's a training that gives you increased damage when you are based off the number of steps you move prior to attacking with cavalry. So that would have boosted the unicorn's damage. The other issue she attacked in place was she's on path, which means she didn't get any of the plus 22% buff here, and it looks like the unicorns are not even fully trained. So yeah, kind of just gave up everything there. I want to see. Yeah, I was floating about 12.7 thousand And she does about, what, 8,000? Oh, she even critted and it did 9k. Yeah, wasn't enough. So at this point, the heal reversal is now finally down. But the other thing to note as far as Christiane, as far as her tanking ability, yeah, I don't think there's anything that shows here. But yeah, she takes 21% less damage right off the bat. And then she also has Flower Formation, which would reduce it. It's a melee strike, so she doesn't reduce the range damage, but she does reduce the magic. So that's another 15% reduction. So right off the bat, she's already taken about half damage. One last thing I want to check just to see. Okay, so I did not proc the armor. Yeah, if I had proc the armor, it would have done even less. So it would have done like another. It would have reduced by another like 20 or 30%. So now I can heal. I can't heal to full because Sissy White's healing's not that great. And the spears are kind of just there. The spears can't guard against magic. At this point, I should have probably just attacked with her. And I did finally get rid of all the effulgence stacks, so now I get her full buff here. All stats except for HP increased by 5%. And when counterattacking, this unit will attack before the enemy, and the unit damage is increased by 20%. So now she strikes first and does more damage. Which her attack is pretty good thanks to her 3C. So yeah, it's being kind of overly cautious here. I really didn't need to. So yeah, I attack first. I actually wipe out all the cav. And then she's infantry, so she wipes out all my spears. And then she kind of just moves away. At this point, I throw away my the buff here. So do a little extra damage here. This does also apply a defense down debuff and can't guard. And then at this point I just move in to attack. And then at this point I was like, well, I'm at full health. And I can attack from range. And just kind of end it there. I probably could have ended it sooner. Like I said, I was pretty tired. I made a lot of mistakes in this match. It was kind of a mess. I should have just killed Sonya. At that point, I would have killed 2 of their units. They would have killed 1 of mine. And then that would have been it. I wouldn't have had to worry about all that nonsense. And then at which point, Christiane would have been just able to just safely... I wouldn't have worried about being overwhelmed by attacks at that point. And yeah, that would have been just... Yeah, I would have had much better control there. Still, Marielle did pretty good damage despite the fact that I made those mistakes. So I was definitely pretty happy with that. Christiane, of course, did really, really well for her first battle ever. Mu has actually been kind of surprising as far as just how effective she was. I mean, taking out Toa at full health. I mean, it's possible that Toa did not have last rites. Seeing the kind of the gear that the Lustral had, and the fact that I think some of them were not 5 or 6 stars, and troop training was definitely not maxed. That probably also contributed to the fact that Mu was able to do enough damage. But still, I mean, if Mu had failed to get the kill, I would have just killed with somebody else. So it's not the end of the world. But still, I'm pretty glad I actually made the effort to add her to the box. And yeah, with that, that's pretty much it for the season. Like I said, next week, I believe we'll start the elimination matches. Obviously, I'm not going to be participating because I'm only Gold 3. I did try to go for Gold 2 whenever I got close to points like this. I'm not going to try it this week because I'm just way too tired. But overall, it was definitely, as always, like every season, it was kind of a learning experience. Obviously, using Freya was kind of just not able to. She wasn't able to contribute into the box I had. I dropped so many characters that were Origins. There are honestly not that many Origins faction characters to pick from. I mean, the only ones that are kind of even worth even taking a look at was like young Jessica and Toa. But the problem is Toa primary benefit is when she actually gets an SSR faction buff, which currently Freya does not provide. I believe she's getting her faction. I believe Freya is going to be getting her 3C very soon. But even with that, even taking that into account, Freya she just like her SP class definitely improved her quite a bit, but she still does not compare to Christiane and Hilda here. If I had Freya, literally that D-Lit would have just killed me. No questions asked. That D-Lit would have just rocked my world. But Christiane actually kind of fulfills some sort of role as like an actual magic tank, so she can tank magic better than Hilda in most cases. I mean, the thing, like Freya was a lot of fun to use initially because she was all about being that spiky tank that does a lot of fixed damage to anything that happens to attack near her or attacks her. But since most things tend to be very immune to for a while, most things were immune to fixed damage thanks to Juggler's aura whenever he does his 3C. So usually what would end up happening is, he'll teleport in with his 3C and then all the other attackers would come in, and at that point the fixed damage didn't matter unless it was mixed forces. So unfortunately, Freya just kind of got phased out a bit there. I'm glad that Christiane's able to pull her weight at 5 stars. It's a bit concerning because obviously you have to take a lot longer to get her actually to full power, which is a bit of a drawback for her. But she makes up for it for the fact that she can actually both guard and faction buff at the same time, and I don't have to worry about reapplying the guard until she needs to reapply the faction buff. For Christiane, there is no downtime for her guard unless it gets dispelled somehow. So it's pretty helpful. Obviously, the weakness for Christiane is since I'm using Blood Pact, she can actually be guard negated or mobility downed. But most of my opponents don't really throw that around. Honestly, Sonya could have done that. Could have ran in with Smash or something, and then everyone else could have just ran in and just attacked freely at that point. Sissy White, I'm very glad I took the effort, the many days of just doing Gate of Fates to get her to 6 stars. She's definitely kind of surprising. She's definitely not very good at the healer role in general, but she does enough that she can keep things going and then obviously build up that currency to do her 3C and all that stuff. And just having that extra body, even though it's not super effective as a summon, just having it to kind of clog up things can definitely be very helpful. And honestly, they do have their fancy effects. The infantry can dispel things with Roar. The cavalry can potentially guard negate, and then of course you have the spears that can guard against physical. So honestly, she's pretty versatile. Also, the fact she has mass attack is always a plus for a healer, because then I don't have to worry about bringing it on somebody else. Obviously, Lucretia has been super useful. Honestly, a lot of my new casters are very useful, especially Kyura. Lustral has been kind of falling off the wayside, to be honest. In most cases, my opponent bans her first, so she does kind of have a benefit of just being there to be banned. But if there's anyone I would probably consider dropping, it's actually kind of Lustral. I know Marielle, kind of falls off a bit, but she does provide healing, cleansing, and the changes I've done to her recently have made her a bit more reliable as far as just doing lots of damage. Also, with the increase of Cav on the field, Amazon champions definitely make her kind of a big threat. The big issue I have is I usually have to deal with Bernhardt and Bernhardt's infantry, and so spears probably don't do as well. But even with that in consideration, I think they're still probably a better pick than Zealots. I'm still using Tsubame. She's definitely very useful, especially in matches where there's a lot of single target and not AoE. Even when there's a lot of AoE, she definitely has some pretty good advantages. She's very good as an assassin if you can get her in range. And since I have multiple characters that can help close the distance either with mobility, extra move, or teleportation. I think that's been pretty helpful. And like I mentioned before, I'm very glad I brought in Moo. Her teleport's super versatile. There's not a single map that doesn't have a grassland style. So that can definitely catch a lot of people off guard when you just suddenly, you're on the sky map and you're like, okay, Moo can't really do much here because all the grassland's in the middle. But that also means I can teleport immediately to the middle of the battlefield and then do whatever I want, which is pretty helpful. Helena is a character I've been looking forward to. And once her exclusive came out, she became pretty staple for most boxes. Definitely no complaints there. The only character I didn't really get much out of was SB Sherry, mainly because she gets banned first. Also, I'm still not very comfortable using her. But the times I had used her, I mean, there was a couple of matches where I just immediately lost because they outrushed me. But if it's kind of the same situation as Marielle in a lot of ways, or in some cases Sholinka, where if your opponent doesn't really know how this unit works, they just get kind of overwhelmed immediately. Like if they don't understand how Marielle gets an extra action that does even more damage, they'll quickly find themselves, suddenly just losing 1 or 2 units immediately. And Sholinka was kind of the same way, where she just suddenly comes in and immediately kills your tank. And in case of Sherry, she can potentially attack from 2 range and then automatically proc her act again and then do whatever she wants, or possibly even just double strike with melee to kill something. So she's definitely useful. She's a threat, which is probably the biggest thing. She definitely draws very early bans because she just has such high mobility in act agains, which is probably the thing I'm pretty happy about this box. My previous box, where I relied heavily on just long range spells, I was not very mobile. But with this box, everyone either has high mobility, high range, or both, or they have access to teleports. So that definitely helps out quite a bit. Besides that, I don't think there's much else to talk about. I'm still holding on to this bag here. I don't know what I'm going to use it for. There's literally only 3 characters. I think there's 3 characters I can use it on. I think it's 3. If 4, I get, 1, 2, 3. Technically 4 if I want to include Layla. But yeah, it's unfortunately not useful. And as far as bonds are concerned, I've been focusing on finishing up Christiane. Christiane will be 6 stars pretty much by next week. Yeah, she's sitting at 137. She's going to be done next week. At that point, she'll have 2 stacks and automatically start with self-res. Moo, it's going to be a while longer. Yeah, she's got a while. And currently, my 3rd character that I'm working on is actually, who was it? Renata. I'm actually working on Renata. And in a few weeks, in about 20 days, she'll actually be 6 stars. And unfortunately, I just can't fit her in a box right now. But she's there if I ever want to actually use a Dragon Maid. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. Yeah, there's not really much else to say. Like I said, I'm pretty tired, so my mind's going blank already. So I'm just going to go ahead and call it here. I am The Depressed Dealer. This was Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 8. I'll see you guys next season.